a lawmaker from a political clan in Mindanao, but is a vocal critic of the Dutertes. Along with a number of colleagues in the House, he is pushing for a landmark human rights legislation in the 20th Congress. Good morning. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno, and you're tuned in at The Forefront. Congressman Zia Alonto Adiong is unafraid to challenge power. As the representative of Lanao del Sur's 1st District, he has been a witness and a leading voice on human rights since the Marawi siege of 2017. What compels Congressman Adiong to take a bold stand on some of the country's most controversial issues? With us this morning is the representative of the 1st District of Lanao del Sur, Congressman Zia Alonto Adiong. Good morning, Congressman Zia.
Good morning, Attorney Karen, and it's really nice to meeting you in person.
Oh, same here. I always watch you on TV, Congressman Zia. So let's start first with some of your advocacies.
Yes.
You offered refuge to Palestinian children from the Gaza conflict.
Yeah.
And not just children, no, to Palestinians in general.
Yeah.
Can you describe to us what this type of assistance is that you're envisioning?
Well, starting from the time when the conflicts on May, I guess, October.
Last year, yes.
2 years ago.
2 years pa, nung start ng Gaza. Not just during the assault in...
But, you know, the Palestinian and Israeli conflict started way back, right? But we're talking about Palestinians who are married to Filipina. So since the Hamas and the Israeli government started the conflict, there are several families, Palestinian families, married to Filipina, who've been trying to get back to the country, but unfortunately the exit points from both the Egyptian border and that of the other borders on the south, somehow it's very difficult for them to move out. Finally, the government, the administration assisted them. And so there are, I think, more than 20 families now residing in Quezon City. Some of them are actually moved out and transferred to Rizal. Some families have already been given secured employment visas. And some of them actually came to Mindanao to be employed by some LGUs in Mindanao. At the time when I visited them, these are professionals, Attorney Karen. Hindi lang sila yung ordinary na tao. Some of them are history professors, engineers, and so what they really want is to be employed and be hired during their stay here in the Philippines. I'm very thankful for this administration because they open up our borders for Palestinian refugees.
Are they able to find work here in the Philippines?
Some of them, yeah. The last time I checked, but you know, life is really hard for them. You know?
And Kong Zia, is this just for Palestinians that are married to Filipinos? Would you consider this type of assistance for Palestinians in general?
Well, the country has been accepting refugees ever since, even during World War II, when European Jews came to seek refuge in the country for safety, right, during the presidency of late Manuel Quezon. So I think the Philippines is known to be accepting and welcoming those who are in distress, running away from harm. So there's a specific division under the DOJ that actually carries the job of profiling the refugees, those who are actually running away from persecution, either state-sponsored persecution. In this case, is a conflict between Israel and Palestine. And so there's a specific division in the DOJ that actually covers the issue on refugees, forced migration, etc. So I was actually told by Secretary, then during the budget hearing, I was actually told by Secretary Rimulya to coordinate closely with that division under DOJ. So we can facilitate the visas from giving out the employment visa so that they can be hired here. Remember, these are professionals.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
they
hindi
can
it's
offer a lot.
Yeah, they can really contribute to the
Yes,
country as
to
well.
the country.
And you formerly castigated former DFA Secretary Teddy Boy Locsin
Yeah.
for allegedly Islamophobic rhetoric on Palestinian children. What were those comments that you found offensive?
Well, I couldn't really recall the exact the tweets but for a diplomat, he should have been more cautious in his words. As a diplomat, he not only represents his own opinion, but he also actually represents the country. And so when you talk about international conflict, Philippines should maintain its position that diplomacy must also be upheld. Promotion of human rights must also always be upheld. So I guess that tweet reflects the kind of bias that he has over the issue of Israeli and Palestinian conflict. So to me, when you speak about politics, that can be debated upon. We can stand on different sides. But when you talk about something as sensitive as children running away from harm, crossing the conflict zone and endangering their very lives, and saying that it's just, since they are part of a family of Hamas and associated with this kind of revolutionary groups, so it's okay because that it is understandable that they may be collateral damage in a war. That to me borders the issue of decency, human decency.
Human decency, okay. Yeah. And you come from a family that has been in politics for decades. You're third, is that correct? Third generation already? From
I guess so,
From one of the most...
I stopped counting.
So from one of the most powerful political clans in the BARM region. What is your stand on the anti-political dynasty policy?
Yeah.
There's isang sambayan filed a petition in the Supreme Court recently to compel Congress to pass a law prohibiting political dynasties. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, to me personally, if there are issues, concerns that actually would promote a healthy democracy, then I'm up for it. But when we talk about specifically political dynasty, to me, that's just scratching the surface. It's just the tip of the iceberg. When we want, for example, to insulate political families from ever controlling or dominate political arena, I guess we have to also discuss about the political maturity in the country. If we do have strong political party system in the country, then probably we can avoid passing over political positions from a father to a son or to a wife, because in the United States, I think a couple of decades ago, we had the same political system,
like
where we only have
system,
Nacionalista and Liberal Party, and every time an election is being held, these political parties do consult all of their members. And I'm not talking about political members who are actually currently assuming office, but even ordinary civilians and ordinary citizens can also be part of this political group. So they convene, similar with what they're doing in the United States, Democrats and the Republican, where the ownership of the party is actually decided upon, owned by the people and decided upon by the members, the entirety members. So if we have that kind of system where the political maturity is very high, where there's a strong political system, I think we can probably avoid.
So you're not,
yes.
So you're open to changing the system that allows for these
exactly.
dynasties.
But we also have to discuss about political maturity here in the country. You have so many parties, one party,
so
you can move out from one party to
maging
another
two-party
party.
na lang tayo.
I guess that's the proper way of dealing with how to make sure that political families do not dominate a certain area or certain position. But it's really a issue that is so hard to really address. Meaning to say, in my own area in the BARM, what we did in the BOL is that during my time when I was still a part of the BARM Parliament, we actually placed there a provision that would disallow political turncoats from moving from one party to another.
That would be a good
If you
policy,
do that,
yeah.
then the penalty would be you're barred from getting into political elections.
Yeah.
Filing
Tsaka hindi
for
ka
a
pwedeng,
position. Hindi ka po pwedeng
balimbing,
That's
no?
one, yeah.
Did you see the effects that it prevented mga balimbing?
Yeah. Sa ngayon. And
maybe
we're
you can
excited.
do that for...
Yeah, we're excited. And in the Constitution, you're very much aware of this. And
Yes.
for all people, alam na alam mo, ang qualification lang naman talaga in the Constitution, so it can read and write.
Yeah. Of legal age.
Of legal age. So
yeah.
how can you diminish? Meaning, how can you diminish the choices, limit the choices of the people, by just making blood relations, DNA, as your measurement for the people to have, choices in every election. So I guess blood relations, to me, does not actually gauge whoever is capable or willing to service and offer, contribute something to the community. So parang siyang sobrang lalim na dapat na pag-usapan.
What about online gambling? Palapit na yung SONA ni President Bongbong Marcos, and some people are calling for him to also declare na going illegal ang online gambling. What is your opinion on that?
I already filed my version on the banning of the fast-paced, yung mga specialty games online, to ban entirely all those type of e-gambling. But there are also calls from the Senate. No, there's also a bill filed in the Senate which actually bans online gambling. So I think it's high time that we discuss this, because it does not only talks about possible revenues for the government, but it also touches about mental health problems, issues, not only financial distress among families, but it goes to the very core of the degradation of human values. Because
what about sabong, for example?
It's not really entertainment. It's not amusement.
Yeah, but sabong, it's been around for many years. So meron nga ako nabasa na even pre-Spanish period, may sabong na daw
it's
sa
part
Pilipinas.
of the culture na, di ba?
Oo. So palagay mo ba, yun dapat tanggalin din completely?
Feeling ko feeling ko we have to have an open discussion on. I don't like to well, it's part of the reality now, but mahirap kasi, masakit tanggapin na ang Pilipinas ay tayo yung magiging capital ng gambling sa mundo. Even in the ASEAN, many countries in the ASEAN have already been banned yung mga ganitong online gambling. And unfortunately, may study na lumabas na even among youth, tumataas yung rate ng youth gambling addiction among youth.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
Pati pala mga bata.
Yeah, so as a parent, it's actually worries me. No?
Yeah.
Kasi you have the e-wallet and you can easily access
meron
mga gambling.
mga GCash, I think. So pati mga payment platforms
exactly.
nagagamit din for online gambling.
And ang batas natin, Attorney Karen, na pinasa, is actually to also ban yung advertisement, because study would also prove that yung exposure sa mga ads, advertisement, makes one get addicted to certain games like gambling. Kasi
so yung advertisements for online gambling,
it's not really in the
dapat
exposure in the actual venue. Kasi ang mga casino kasi, it's highly restricted, and mga in-placed venue gambling operators na hindi mo lang siya ma-access kung saan, but you have to go to hotels.
Yeah, and they can see if it's a minor.
Yes,
yeah.
but this one, it's readily available on your mobile devices, and you have the e-wallet. So ang tina-target niya is yung mga marginalized na financially challenged, yung mga youth. Tumataas na ngayon yung addiction dyan.
And Kong Zia, let's talk about your role in the 19th Congress. You were a member of the Committee on Appropriations.
Yes.
With Congressman Zaldi stepping down as the chairman of the Committee on Appropriations, was that something that you expected?
No, actually.
Nagulat din kayo?
Yeah, I was only told, I learned about that the day when he actually stepped down. Yeah.
Well, some people were saying that this step down occurred only after Congressman Sandro Marcos declared the position vacant, and this was all because of the issues surrounding the 2025 budget and the blanks in the BICAM report. Would you know if that's true?
Yung time na when I learned about his stepping down, that's the day yun nga na the news came out. So I wouldn't really know what happened, what transpired, why it led to Chairman Saldi deciding on stepping down. Yeah, to step down. So I wasn't really privy as to the backstory of it all.
Would you know if meron ng napipili or at least likely to become the chairman for the Committee on Appropriations? Isa yan sa mga very important na committees.
Talaga na committees yan eh. Kasi pag-uusapan talaga yung pondo and operation ng entire bureaucracy ng gobyerno. So I'm sure there are a lot of able congressmen, especially from among the veteran congressmen, congresswomen, for that matter, who are willing to serve as a chairman.
Pero wala pa pong name na lumulutang?
Wala pa. Sa ngayon, wala pa. But I've heard some, but it's not yet confirmed by that person.
Can you share yung mga naririnig mo na
I don't want to preempt, number one. I don't want to cause much confusion kasi in the first place, those names that I've heard have not even confirmed that they are actually applying for the chairmanship. So it's unfair if I come out on the open and say all these names.
Members of Congress apply for this chairmanship position?
There are members of the House who are interested, especially among the veteran legislators. But the Committee on Appropriations actually, pag-usapan dyan, dapat masusi ka talaga eh. I mean, hindi ka lang legislator, but you really have that meticulous eye.
Yeah.
Kasi, alam mo, Attorney Karen, pag sinasubmit ng NEP sa amin, ang liliit ng mga characters.
Yeah.
Sobrang hindi mo na mabasa. So, minsan ganun ka kapal. So, burden talaga siya in a way. Kasi, of course, you really have to spearhead the agenda of the administration and make sure that all the line items provided in the NET should carry over up until the last stretch of the budget, which is the
Based on the composition of the 20th Congress, your personal opinion, meron ka bang naiisip na bagay for that role?
Meron na.
Meron? Pero ayaw mo i-preempt, ayaw mo i-share. I can see from your smile.
Baka bias ako doon, so so meron na rin ako naiisip na magandang
Lalaki or babae?
So gusto natin i-trim down. Just let's leave it at that. Meron talaga akong naiisip na
Meron ka na naisip. But
lalaki siya, lalaki. Siya, yeah.
House Speaker, meron na bang certainty with Speaker Martin being the Speaker for the 20th Congress? Certain na yun?
Certain talaga yun. It's a foregone conclusion na eh, kumbaga. Kasi there are about 200 plus who have signed already the manifesto of support. Hindi lang ito yung mga membro ng 19th Congress. Most of them actually are neophyte congressmen and women.
So
just
he
got
has the
elected
support
in the
of
20th
the
Congress.
majority.
So ang alam ko lang, I'm not specific, I don't know the specific number, pero mga nasa 311 na actually ang membership ng House.
Okay, so more than majority.
Yeah, 280, hindi ako nagkakamali, 7 ang pumirma na nung manifesto of support, supporting and endorsing Speaker Martin Romualdez to be the Speaker for the
What's your relationship like with Speaker Martin? Are you close?
Yeah. He's the type of leader who listens to every concerns. Accommodating talaga siya. And every time imagine, especially from where I come from, sa Marawi, we've experienced the most devastating man-made calamity since World War II.
I've been there po, Kong Zia.
Talaga?
I was there nung ground zero pa siya.
Oh,
Because
wow.
I was with the Department of Public Works that time, and it really looked like this, what we're seeing right
Yeah,
now. The scenes. Kasi
Yeah.
we were supposed to start with rehabilitation, at least dun sa...
So you were
sa
part of the Rehab? Wow, nice.
Oo, so I was even
thank
there
you.
with the snipers. Kasi that time, hindi pa siya all clear. Kami
Yeah.
pa lang, ground zero
Ngayon-
pa siya that time.
Ngayon, okay naman siya. But yun nga, going back to your question, it's actually Speaker Martin who decided that there should be a dedicated committee for the rehabilitation of Marawi City. So meron ng ad hoc, na-create yung ad hoc. After more than 6 years since the siege and since the liberation, since the rehabilitation was declared. So, of course, malaking utang na loob yun para sa akin. Kasi binigyan niyan talaga ng atensyon ang paano kailangan ma-fast track at ma-facilitate ng maayos in terms of budget, in terms of assistance, kasi may specific na committee na titingin sa rehabilitasyon.
Kamusta
ng
po
Marawi.
yung lagay ngayon ng Marawi City? Is the rehabilitation progressing towards like more than 50% completion? Meron ka bang gauge?
Well, in terms of the infra completion, I would say mga 90% na yan.
Okay,
But the
that's
basic services facility that we will need in order to facilitate the reintegration, the coming back of the former residents in these areas, which are water and ilaw, yun ang medyo may challenge doon. Kasi may problema din doon, legally speaking, meron ding issue doon sa kung saan ilalagay yung tubig. Yung water system na magsusupply ng tubig doon sa 24 damaged barangays. So, if you asking me if the rehabilitation is completed, hindi pa. There are a lot of work that needs to be done. Unang-una, rehabilitation in its essence, in its entirety, essentially is for the former residents to be reintegrated in this area. At may mga barangays dyan na bumalik na yung kusa yung mga tao kasi mahirap naman talaga tumira sa ibang lugar, di ba? But majority of those who resided in these areas haven't returned yet to the MAA, and most of them are still living in temporary shelters. Meron na rin permanent shelters na inopen for the residents. But, it's really incomparable talaga siya yung feeling of comfort and familiarity from the place that you were born, raised, and,
Tapos to be
build
suddenly
your memories
displaced.
with your neighbors and friends, all together
Yeah.
loved ones. So, up to now, we're still hoping that it can be
But would you
reopened
say
again.
that the ISIS has been completely displaced?
ISIS is an world global menace.
I mean,
eh.
from at least Marawi, wala na yung mga...
Meron pa talagang mga remnants, and that's what we are pushing for, the complete elimination, eradication of this group. But we are dealing here not only of physical group, but we're also dealing with ideology, extremism, which is really hard to fight against. Kasi it cannot be killed by by one bullet or what.
Yeah.
This is also propaganda-driven machinery that it deals about radicalization and extremism, which basically is something that the military should also involve itself in going down to the grassroots and countering the propaganda of this extremist
But do you agree
organization.
with what the previous administration did in terms of having an all-out war in Marawi to get rid of that ISIS?
At that time, it was, I guess, what the military did at that time was commensurate the degree of threats that we are facing during not only in Marawi City, because Marawi City has made as the battleground, but in terms of its effect and the threat to national security, it's actually a national concern. So ang masakit lang talaga is the brunt of the hardship that it resulted in 5-month-long fighting conflict happened in my area in Marawi City. It could happen anywhere, but it happened in Marawi City.
And why are you pushing for the refiling of the anti-EJK bill in the 20th Congress? But before you answer that question, we'll have to take a short break. At the Forefront, we'll be right back. Welcome back at the Forefront. Congressman Zia, why are you pushing for the refiling of the anti-EJK bill in the 20th Congress?
Well, we are a country that needs to promote and should promote yung rule of law. Hindi po pwedeng basta na lang tayong gagamit ng dahas para lang masugpo kung ano man yung krimen na iniisip nating sugpuin. I think the justice system is working, and we need to promote, uphold, the rule of law. And number two, we should do everything that would contravene the evolved, the culture of impunity where certain officials in the government. That's really what strikes me the most.
Would you say this is targeted on acts done by the prior administration? There were already EJK killings also before the time of President Dutertes.
But the problem with the previous administration is it's the only administration that actually made a state policy and came out with a program or a policy that actually targets yung mga drug peddlers and drug pushers who even have a systematic policy in order to curb drug addiction and drug proliferation, which resulted, unfortunately, to the killings of many people. So even the former president himself was actually very vocal in saying that,
But how do you distinguish yung mga sinasabi lang ni former President Duterte as part of his speeches? Like, we are all familiar with his type of rhetoric, papatay na yan, but it's not really, I don't think, legally a policy if we don't have an official program of the government. Or maybe there's that type of distinction.
Yeah, that when you're president, kasi everything you says will be understood as a policy of the government. So even if it's not written in legal form, but the head of state, whenever he utters or she utters something that impacts on certain program that is being implemented or policy that is being implemented, naturally it is attributable to the one that we are seeing in terms of implementation, to the one that is what actually is saying by the current sitting president.
But do you think that our current laws are not sufficient to address even extrajudicial killings? Because our country doesn't have capital punishment or the death penalty.
Yes.
So there is a statement by some legal experts that all types of killings are extrajudicial. So, and we have laws on murder, homicide. So, hindi pa ba yun covered?
Actually, that's the gray area because during the time when we conducted the committee hearing, we even asked legal experts, what exactly is the definition of extrajudicial killing, and they could not provide us one. There's no actual definition of what constitutes extrajudicial killing. As you've said, may murder, diba? Outside of the law, it can also be considered as extrajudicial killing in the general sense of the word. I mean, the definition is very generic. So what this law is trying to provide is, number one, a parameters and a definition so that the court can actually appreciate when a crime is being committed, whether it constitutes murder or it constitutes extrajudicial. But our definition of extrajudicial, it has to be some sort of a state-sponsored policy.
Okay, so it's really more similar to, for example, what you say would be EJKs related to anti-drug war campaign of the government.
On
mga ganong
that
type.
sort,
Okay. And the House will reportedly have a Quadcom again.
Yes.
But you
hopefully.
You have 3 members before, Ace Barbers, Dan Fernandez, si Congressman Paduano, that are no longer going to be in the 20th Congress. Would you know kung merong mga bago kayong ilalagay sa Quadcom?
Sa ngayon, Attorney Karen, wala pa talagang confirm na kung sino uupo. But meron ng talagang meron ng clamor among the membership. Meron na talagang possible na yung reactivation nitong 4 committees na to na mabubuo sa Quad. Pero as to who will chair the Quad, these 4 committees, hindi pa actually nako-confirm kung sino yung upo.
Would you agree to be part of the Quadcom?
Well, I would definitely be happy to be part of the Quadcom because we started it in the 19th Congress. So, gusto ko ako kasi yung type ng person na gusto ko may continuation and sustainability, especially if some of the issues are left hanging.
What issues do you think need to be investigated further?
Well,
sa
number 1,
20th
smuggling.
Congress?
Drug
Smuggling, yes, yeah, okay.
Hindi pa natin talaga na pag-uusapan yun ng masusi, di ba? Number 2 is, of course, yung pinag-uusapan nating EJK. That's why we filed for the bill for the EJK. Yun ang just 2 on top of my head, pag-uusapan. Yung sa gambling naman, meron ng directive ang Malacanang administration to ban the POGO operations. But there are still pockets of operation, di ba, in the country, despite the order of the President, executive order to ban all POGOs, di ba? So para meron pa rin talagang pumapasok na mga ganung at nag-ooperate pa hanggang sa ngayon. So,
yeah. As a member
natin.
of the Committee Appropriations in the 19th Congress, you were critical also of the use by the Office of the Vice President of the confidential funds.
Yes.
But this passed through in the prior budget hearings without any issues. Bakit yung rinaise yun na issue nung 19th Congress na lang?
Well, yun nga eh.
I mean, the latter part na.
Yeah. Yung nangyari kasi, we approved and we allotted the confidential funds as requested by the Office of the Vice President as well as the Department of Education in good faith. Because we thought that's how she can actually do better in her portfolio as Education Secretary and as well as Office of the Vice President. So when we approved the confidential funds, it was entirely, in good faith. Like maybe she can deliver. Remember, Karen, the Vice President has no portfolio unless the administration gives one. Ang Office of the Vice President is just a waiting list, diba? Waiting for the something happened to the president, but the portfolio is Department of Education. So if she thinks that she thought that she can deliver more in terms of, educating our youth to be more makabayan, ganun ata yung platform niya, para ma-dissuade yung ating mga kabataan from becoming yung mga propaganda ng mga communists, etc. Because so she needs to partner with our security agencies. So we thought maybe she can deliver, her plans on cleaning up the educational system, apart from upgrading the quality, but cleaning up the education system from, pushing our youth into becoming more makabayan and more patriotic. But it did not go that as what we have expected her to.
So palagi mo hindi nagamit for that purpose?
Yes, hindi nagamit because even the COA itself said that meron talagang problema on the implementation and releases of the acknowledgement receipts because the confidential funds
may findings na po ba ang COA?
Kasi may joint circular eh.
Oo, pero may findings na po ba ang COA?
The finding
mga
is that,
disallowance?
yes, sa ngayon, up to now, inaantay pa ng COA yung kasi may time talaga na magbibigay din ng ang Office of the Vice President and Department of Education para at least mawala halimbawa yung hindi naman final judgment talaga ang disallowances, but up to now I haven't heard or haven't seen any any statement from the COA or any move from COA that some of the proportions of the acknowledgement receipts were already been explained well.
The Supreme Court has recently asked Congress to comment on the petition pending before them with respect to the one-year bar rule sa impeachment. What would you say dun sa sinasabi ni Vice President Sara na hindi daw nabasa talaga ng members of the House bago sila pumirma yung completely yung articles of impeachment? Senator Marcoleta also said na may mga ibang congressman daw, it just took 30 minutes for them to sign. the articles of impeachment were about 50 pages. So, totoo ba yun?
Hindi po totoo. Kasi remember, Karen, prior to the filing before the plenary, pinag-usapan yung impeachment, articles of impeachment, each party in the House have their own caucuses. So ang Lakas CMD, nagkaroon ng caucus, ang NUP, ang NPC. Pinag-usapan nila yung mga complaints na to, yung final ng mga individual and groups. May nag-file kasi dyan ng complaints. So pinag-usapan yon at of course binasa ng mga Congress. I personally even consulted my own staff who are lawyers to explain to me in layman's term kung ano talaga yung pinag-usapan doon. So ako, I would say, I can confidently say that among the Lakas CMD, and I'm sure many party leaders also said that they have already consulted their members, and they come up with a decision, each party decision, that they will support the impeachment complaints, verified impeachment complaints. In fact, during the caucus, nung all-party members na caucus, may mga nagsalita pa rin. Yung mga iba ay hindi nag-agree doon sa process, binigyan sila ng way para magsalita, nakapag-usap ng maayos. Apart from the ones that had the party leaders and the parties, each individual parties in the House consulted their members. Nagkaroon pa rin ng all-party consultation at pinag-usapan pa.
Are you confident na magkakaroon ng impeachment trial?
Yes naman, di ba? Kasi parang ang Senado naman, they have already taken jurisdiction. Di ba? Parang and the question of jurisdictional issue has already been settled nung nag-usap sila. Ang nag-convene ang Senado as an impeachment court. Only that they requested the House to file certification whether the 20th Congress will pursue impeachment, which is now a legal question,
Yeah.
diba? May napag-uusapan. Dami ng mga...
Pero ira-ratify niyo po ba? Yung 20th Congress, kayo, yung composition niyo, will you ratify? That's something that Senate also asked for. Will you ratify the impeachment that was filed by the 19th Congress?
Well, ako, I abide with the decision because this is entirely of legal questions as well. If you ask many legal luminaries, sinasabi na this is a novel idea. It's actually introduced by the current Senate, which is not part of what the Constitution instructed the Senate to do. Parang ang daming mga legal issues. So ako, if you ask me, I would certainly abide with whatever the prosecution panel would do. Because I don't want to, of course...
So you give them the...
Yeah, I would give them the benefit.
You defer to them.
Yeah, defer to them.
You're from Mindanao, but you are a critic of the Dutertes. Why is that?
Well, I am coming from a position where, number one, I actually do not believe in violence as a means to address issues and problems. That's one. Number two, I am not actually against the family. I am against the policy, which happens to be associated with the former president. And so, ako, polisiya lang naman talaga yung hindi ko actually nagsusubscribe doon. And I'm not really against the family. I am against some of the basically yung pinakapunto ng polisiya, di gobyerno na associated po sa kanila.
But when you were in the BARM Parliament during the time of former President Duterte, were you already against his policies at that time?
Yeah. I was
outspoken na against.
Yeah. Kasi number one, sabi ko nga, I was very, I maintained my position even when I started as a neophyte member of the Assembly to call out yung mga aggression and hostilities against individuals and against groups because we are actually one of the victims of this kind of state policies. No? So ako, I actually do not subscribe nga when it comes to running after criminals and upholding the justice system in a manner by which outside na doon sa dinidictate ng batas, which is the rule of law, and every suspected criminals are entitled to have a day in court.
Does your
That's
family
simple.
share your view? Pareho ba kayo pati your brother came from Congress and you replaced him in Congress. Do they take the same position that you do?
Hindi namin kasi napag-usapan
Ay,
yung
hindi
mga...
kayo nag-usap ng pod. That's surprising. You come from a political family. Your mom was also a governor before, and then your father was previously a governor. They've held so many positions in elected positions, no? Hindi nyo napapag-usapan ng politika sa pamilya.
Alam nyo, pag Attorney Karen, pag kami nagkakasama-sama, yung ordinary lang na pamilya, so hindi na-dominate ng oras namin yung pag-iusapan namin yung politika. Although alam ko, I am confident na ayaw din naman talaga nila ng patayan, di ba? Ayaw naman din nila ng mga polisiya na nagko-contravene doon sa pagpopromote ng rule of law. Alam mo, ang rule of law at saka peace and order, hindi naman talaga siya mutually exclusive. It can go hand in hand.
And do you find that works the way you govern sa Lanao del Sur? Because normally, sinasabi nila sa Mindanao, mas magulo than the other regions daw in the Philippines. Is that true?
Well, yeah, I agree. We have been often visited by not just natural calamities but man-made. But this is something that is imposed upon us. If you go back to history, it has so much dark memories that we experience, no?
In Marawi, totoo po ba na nawala niyo yung ancestral home niyo because of the conflict?
Yes, yun yung unang mga na nagkaroon ng heavy firefight. Kasi malapit siya doon sa mosque, no? Sinasabi natin Grand Mosque.
Yes,
doon
napuntahan ko po
yung mga
yun.
doon naka-station mga mga heavy snipers nila. Yeah.
Did you feel that it was necessary na may all-out war? You said kanina, palagay nyo, tama naman yun to get rid of ISIS at the time. But did you feel any resentment towards the government at the time na nawala yung ancestral home nyo?
Ako, nung nawala yung ancestral house namin, parang ang feeling ko at that time was, naging pare-pareho na talaga lahat na. Kasi, although masakit talaga yun, pero what can you do, di ba? Kasi doon talaga yung bakbakan. But when you ask me something about resentment, ako magkakaroon lang ng mas mataas na resentment kung hindi matapos itong rehabilitation.
And bumalik pa kayo noon sa Marawi. You were at that time in Cotabato. Pero kung iba yun, may mga CIA kami dito. But that time, some people probably would stay away from Marawi, but kayo bumalik po kayo. Bakit mo piniling bumalik, even at the height of the conflict?
Kasi una, nandun yung pamilya ko eh. Nandun yung tita ko doon talaga, na-trap sila doon sa ancestral house namin. And my mother was then the governor of the province. So, ang pangit naman yung ikaw dapat yung frontliner, tapos aalis ka at iiwas ka doon sa giyera, iiwas ka sa dapat na trabaho mo. So, when everyone was actually moving out from Marawi, ako naman yung umaakyat.
Ikaw yung bumabalik doon.
Ako yung bumabalik. Yeah. Kasi feeling ko at that time, I have to be there.
Pero in your family, wala naman pong casualties?
Wala naman, thank God. No, wala naman.
At the time, were you already married?
Yeah.
And you had a son by then?
Yes.
And is your wife also actively in politics, or does she have any plans to enter politics?
No. Well, she is not really into, although accepted niya yung buhay niya ngayon, nakasama ako, but I don't see her any inclination of going, entering politics. I don't want her to enter politics.
Very private person po siya.
Yes.
And since we only have about a minute left, kanina na-mention nyo 90% pa lang tapos yung rehabilitation sa Marawi. What do you think yung kailangan pa para matapos ito? At ano naman yung mga message nyo para dun sa mga nag-aantay ng full rehabilitation sa Marawi?
Well, una, yung tubig nga at saka ilaw, kailangan fast track. Sinabi naman ng Presidente. By the way, I thank the President for visiting Marawi at sinabi naman niya babalikan daw niya. So I'm optimistic that it can be rehabilitation can be finally over. sana within the last 3 remaining years of this president. Number 2, yung compensation talaga, packages. Kasi may substantial number of families na nabayaran, but there are still quite a large number of individuals and families who are still waiting for the compensation package. So, una, budget talaga, di ba? Kasi kailangan mong bigyan ng compensation yung mga biktima. So, I guess kung matapos yun, I can finally say na alhamdulillah, alam mo yun. Maski yung dark memories natin, at least there's sabi nga nila, there's the light at the end of the tunnel. So, I am hoping that we can see that before the end of this administration's term.
We look forward to
Thank
that.
you.
And lastly, Kong Zia, apart from EJK, name one bill that you will push for in the 20th Congress.
Autism. We really need to have a comprehensive program and plans to assist itong mga children within the spectrum. Kailangan talaga natin yan kasi tumaas talaga yung number nila.
Marami nga po talaga. Or baka it was the lack of awareness din, kaya hindi na-diagnose properly.
Maybe, but you know, there's really a need for the government to step up and make it as one of the priority policies.
Why is it close to your heart, this advocacy?
Because I have a daughter who is diagnosed within the spectrum. Yeah.
So it's something at least that you understand.
And it's surprising because ang dami din namin sa mga kasama ko sa Kongreso na may pamangkin.
Yeah. I have also a pamangkin na in the spectrum.
Talaga,
At
diba?
napakamahal na mga therapies.
Ang sakit,
and mahirap pa, mawi-waitlist pa.
Mahirap. 6 months ka mag-aantay, di ba?
Yeah.
6 months ka mag-aantay. So it's ayun sa talagang, nag-file na kami noon. Unfortunately, hindi siya na-approve. Hindi umabot dun sa third reading, I guess. O umabot sa third reading but there's no counterpart measure in the Senate. So now, talagang ifa-file na namin uli yun.
That's good to hear. Thank you so much, Kong Zia. Kulang pa tayo sa time, but unfortunately, I hope we can have you back next time.
Yeah. I'll be glad to come back should you invite me again. Yeah.
Thank you again. In a time when silence is safe and power is rarely challenged, Congressman Zia Alonto Adiong chooses to speak loudly, clearly, and without fear. His voice echoes not just from the halls of Congress, but from the heart of people long denied of justice. And in every stand he takes, he reminds us that accountability is not optional. It is an inherent right. Be timely informed, be insightful of the news. Always stay at the forefront. Join us again tomorrow for meaningful insights on issues that matter. This is Attorney Karen Jimeno. Thank you for spending your hour with us.